go.
This is the Good Neighbor Podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. Here's your host, Jeremy Wolf.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Good Neighbor Podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Wolf, and today I am joined by Justin Schaus with Checkmate Finishings. You know, I was on social media, I think it might have been on YouTube or something the other day, and something caught my eye. I noticed a video that Justin had. He does landscape finishings, landscape designs, things of that nature. And he did a video talking about how he was going to kind of pick out a property at random that looked like it needed some help and kind of just stop by and do some free work for them. And I thought that was interesting. And I reached out to him and said, "Hey, Justin, got to come on the show and talk a little bit about what you do." So Justin, good to see you, brother.
Good to see you as well.
Yeah, man. And thanks to our listeners for tuning in. So why don't we start off, tell everybody a little bit about Checkmate Finishings, if you could.
So Checkmate Finishings is a job where pretty much I come in, I do landscape design and install, I'll redo what you got. And then the idea and the concept of the name was when I'm done and I walk away, it's like checkmate, finishing off like a chessboard. We pretty much, it's a, how do you say it? It's more of like an art because I come through and I look at things. And, a lot of the times I'll be asked, can I get a drawing or anything? And more of it is I build and design as I go through the process. So I'll come with some ideas. Me and the customer will bounce ideas off one another. And then the process, we may come up with an idea in the beginning of the job, but it changes throughout. And then ultimately, 95% of my jobs, the final product isn't what we even discussed in the beginning. So it's more of like a personal thing when it comes to creating somewhere for you to come home, be safe, be comfortable, and want to be home versus wanting to run from home.
Okay, so a collaborative process with the client.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Do you do mostly, or do you do all residential, or do you also do some commercial jobs?
So it started off residential, and I actually started getting into commercial. I just landed a 55 and older community, my first one. So I'm open-minded to the fact. I have no problem with doing that because the one that I just landed, we did the whole front entrance. We've made a lot of changes.
Right on. How did you come about Checkmate Finishings? Tell us a little bit about your journey, your background, how you ended up here.
So I've always worked for a company and someone else telling me pretty much my worth. And I got to a point in life, I was like, is this where I want to be in life? Do I want to keep working for someone, or do I want to dictate my own worth and see what I can do? And then me and my wife, we bought a home and we started renovating. We started from the inside and then we got to the outside and we did the backyard and we created something that I was like, I could do this. Give or take, my background with my father growing up as a kid, he always got me into working on cars and, pulling engines and trainees. But at the same time, he was big on landscaping. And we would always, no matter where house we went to, we did landscaping. We got into ponds and koi fish. And I didn't think too much about it when I was younger. But then once I did that, I started my business. And when I started my business, it was more of like, I'm going to be a handyman. So I was trying everything. And my first job was for a family member where it was wallpaper. And that told me right off the rip, because I was like, okay, I'm going to get this done in a couple of days. It took me 3 weeks to get all the wallpaper off, sand all the walls and do it. And that told me right then and there, I do not want to do this. And there was a couple more jobs that followed up after that where I got into sinks and all that. And it was like the more handyman work I got into, the more I opened up a can of worms. And one problem became 5 problems. And I was like, no. So then there was one more job that I was like, they wanted some landscaping done in their border, like pressure cleaning and painted. So I did it and it turned out nice. And I got it done within 1 day. And I was like, that's where it's at.
Yeah. The only experience I have on my end trying to handle my own landscaping was my previous property. I said, I'm going to try to tackle this, and all the beds needed to be ripped out and redone. I said, I think I can handle this. I went out in the heat of the summer and I got into like a 2.5 hour long wrestling match with some gangly bush, thorny bush, almost had heat stroke. And I checked out quite quickly and hired a company to come in. They brought in like 10 people, ripped it all up in a couple of days. And that was my experience with redoing landscaping myself. So Justin, what was the motivation behind that video that I saw that you had posted that I referenced earlier?
So the motivation is, there's several houses I go to. Like every estimate you go to is a hit or miss. You never know if you're going to get it or if you're not. You don't want to overbid and then scare the customer away. But at the same time, if a customer comes to you and can't do it, then it's like, well, keep in touch with me. Let's see where we can find a medium and we can find a price that works for both of us. And a lot of the feedback that I've gotten from some of my estimates is, they can't afford it. Like I'll come up with a number and then theirs is significantly lower because, I definitely understand where the economy is and the price inflation and everything that's going up. And people just, a lot of it has to do with they don't understand what it entails when it comes to landscape and the cost of it, because let's face it, landscape isn't just like cutting grass and maintenance and everything else when it comes to the other portions of it. It's more of a luxury, and it does help out in the sense of how it makes your home look and how it makes you feel when you come home. So a lot of the reason why is because I deal with a lot of elderly people as well when it comes to their landscaping, and they're on a fixed income. So more or less, as long as everything's going well and things are working smoothly, I really want to get to a point where I can help out those ones that can't afford this, that can't do this, because it's not easy. They can't do it themselves because, let's face it, there's a couple of times, like you have said, I've even had my heat strokes. I've had to stop, take a breather, sit in the truck, AC running, or go home and actually take a shower and cool my body temperature.
Yeah, man, that's tough work.
It is. It can be very much so. So the more I can help those people, because the less I want to see people getting hurt, getting injured, going to the hospital, having heat strokes. There's several people, my wife's boss, their son just passed away from a heat stroke out of nowhere, and there's several people that died from this. So if I can do the smallest little thing and make a change and make someone happy and they don't have to do it themselves, that's huge. That's rewarding.
So I definitely have seen lots of positive comments on Cooper City Buzz and some of these other the groups about the work that you've been doing in the area. How long have you had Checkmate Finishings for? When did you start the company?
I started in April of 2021.
All right.
So I've only been going a little. April would have been 2 years. So 2 years and a couple months, really.
What would you say was the most challenging thing? I know you referenced earlier you were working for people and you wanted to kind of do your own thing and be your own boss. What was the most difficult or challenging thing about starting your own business?
The most difficult and challenging was figuring out how to price, how to quote, how to figure out the biggest part is labor, because the killer of all businesses is labor. Trying to put in perspective of how long the job's actually going to take and how long you think it's going to take. I've learned that you always have to give it an extra day, because if it exceeds that and you've quoted for this much, a lot of it is you'll either break even or you'll come up in the negative. And that was the difficult part of trying to figure out.
Yeah, I'd imagine a lot of that comes down to trial and error, right? When you're just starting out, you have no definitive framework and you learn as you go. And then over time, you just kind of instinctively know what things are going to cost and how to quote things. So tell us a little bit about your family. You mentioned you have a wife. You guys have kids?
She has kids. So I've taken them in and I've adopted them as if they're my own, and I love them just as if they were my own. I was born and raised in South Florida, Broward County. I was born at Joe DiMaggio Hospital. I've been here all my life. My dad went to Pines Lakes Elementary, Pines Middle, Cooper City. I went Pines Lakes Elementary, Pines Middle. I graduated from Sheridan Tech. My grandparents have been here ever since I can remember. They used to live in Miramar. Now they're based in Pembroke Pines and been here their whole life. They used to play sunswept and play pool and travel the world. So I have a lot of background with that. They're big fishermen. They used to fish all the time growing up as kids, and we always did lobster season. So I was more of like definitely a South Florida person and always in the Keys at the same time.
Do you guys live in Cooper City or where you're at right now?
So I live in Plantation.
Okay.
And my family, my dad and my grandparents live in Pembroke Pines.
Okay. Well, we won't over here in Cooper City. We won't hold it against you that you're not You're not living here right now, but that's
But
cool.
I was raised in, I was pretty much raised all within Pembroke Pines, Cooper City, Davie. I had friends all over the spectrum. So I was always within the neighborhoods and growing up with everyone. So I consider Cooper City my family because Cooper City considers me as their family.
Right on, man. How old are the kids? How old are your kids?
One's 15, one's 24.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, no, I got 11 and 9 myself. So you look like a young guy. I was 15 and 24.
I'm only 35.
Oh, okay. So you are a young guy.
Yeah.
So what would be the one thing that you'd like for our listeners to know about your business?
When I come and you bring me for an estimate or you hire me, always remember that my first thought is what makes the customer happy. And I've had a lot of comments on some of my work that have told just that and said, Justin's not happy unless the customer's happy. And I live by that. I breathe that. And that is how I like to run my business, because I'm not going to come through, tell you the job, put everything in play and walk away and say, this is what you get. I usually try to do my best to appease to every need that you want, everything that you want to see, and, give you overall the best experience you possibly can when hiring a contractor to come do work at your house. I treat your house like my house. I treat your family as if you're my family. And every one of my customers that I do work for is my family. And I keep in touch. Every now and then I'll drive by and I'll keep looking and overseeing my jobs. There's times I'll show up at my jobs that I've done a year ago, and I'll get out of the truck, walk up to their yard, and if I see a limb hanging that's dead, or I see some weeds or something, I will pull that stuff, throw it in my truck, and I will treat it as if, and I don't charge it. I just kind of do it on my own. I've done it in several neighborhoods in Weston and Pembroke Pines, so I'm like pretty much all over the place, and I look out for my people when I can.
Right on, man. Right on. So what are your goals? You just started only a couple years ago. Where do you see Checkmate Finishings 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road? What are your goals?
Goals and where I see myself would be, I want to get to the point where I'm running 2 crews. I really don't want no more than that. I'm not trying to get huge because I like the concept of staying small, but I want to run 2 crews, 2 foremans, and then 2 guys underneath them. And I want to be able to have one of them do, if I get into the maintenance portion, do that. But I'm not going to be that company that cuts grass. There's a fine line between that. So all those landscape companies, I'm not a threat to them at all. When it comes to lawn maintenance, I enjoy creating something from nothing, and I want to see it prosper and grow, and I want it to help the community out. My biggest goal that I've been trying to do for the last 2 years that I've been in business is become Cooper City Yard of the Month. I've been following this. I've been watching some of the yards that they do. It is not easy, and I've done so many, and I'm still waiting for one of my yards to get nailed. And I'm like, please. Every time they go to announce it, I'm like, please let it be mine. Please let it be mine. And I'm still not having any luck.
It's coming, brother. It's coming. I can feel it. We're putting a message out in the universe for you. You hear that, everyone? We need to get a Checkmate Finishings job as the lawn of the month for Cooper City. Awesome, man. So in closing, please let our listeners know how we could reach you, how we could learn more, maybe share your website and your contact information.
So recently my number has changed. Instead of the 754-422-3468, my phone number is 954-931-1036. As far as contact, if you want to see any of my work, just to see what I do, some of the jobs that I've done, go on Facebook, go to the groups and type in landscape design by Checkmate Finishings. All my work's on there. Anything that I've done, posted, anything that you like, especially when it comes to coordinating jobs, you can always look at some of my jobs, pick and choose what you like on there. Come to me, show me pictures and be like, I like what you did in this one, but I also like here. And that's a lot of how I create a lot of my work and how I create different looks when it comes to landscaping. I do have an Instagram, is Checkmate Finishings on there as well. A lot of my links and everything will be on there. as far as my Facebook group. So when you go on there, you'll be able to see my Instagram and all my other stuff. I also have a YouTube channel that I'm trying to get up and off the ground. I just started that and getting into that. So it's more of like, instead of just regular videos, I'm trying to get to where I'm actually talking and narrating in it more so that I can create more of a comfort vibe.
All right. We'll, of course, link in the description below to all of your contact information. Justin, thanks for coming on the show, brother.
Thank you, Jeremy, for having me. I appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, it's our pleasure. And thanks to our listeners for tuning in. And we will catch you next time. Everyone have a wonderful day.
Thanks for listening to the Good Neighbor Podcast, Cooper City. To nominate your favorite local business to be featured on the show, go to gnpcoopercity.com. That's gnpcoopercity.com, or call 954-231-3170.